this is in regards to the whole Q operation with Trump. So people think that this Q thing is like new, like it started in like 2017, 2018. People started hearing about it. The Q is a clearance level in the Department of Energy. So the Department of Energy has the highest clearance levels because they're dealing with nuclear. So the most serious issues in the country are being handled by the Department of Energy as far as the secrets and the security clearance and the information and who can access it. So the alphabet that we use is actually a code. And all of the events that have been happening our whole lives are based off of certain numbers and happen at certain times. It's a literal code that's being played out. So the letter Q itself, all of the English letters, capitals, are formed when you do a math equation. You take a circle and you try to find the center point in it. And to do that, it's like technically impossible. It's called an irrational number. But to get to the point where you can get very close to figuring that out, the equation that you have to do is you are putting all types of shapes within this circle. And what happens is those intersection points, those become the capital letters of the English alphabet. And they all fit in a square within this circle. So all the letters fit, but one letter has an extra line. That's the bottom line on the Q. Very long ago, that small little line that goes through a 7, it's like on a Q, it's like a dash, right? It's kind of like this little mark. It's called a teetlo or teedlo. What that did was that wanted you to notice and recognize that letter as a number. That's why the Q has that line on the bottom. And that's why a lowercase q has that line on the bottom. Because you're supposed to be identifying that 17th position in our alphabet. The letter itself is older, but it's always had this mathematical relevance. So the reason why this country has been formed in the way it has by the people it was, the Freemasons, it was supposedly breaking away from England, but the same group of people ultimately is behind it, and it was the Freemasons. So to show this relevance in the language itself with Q and the 17th position, they formed modern-day Freemasonry in England in 1717. Now, they came here and formed this country 59 years later. So 59 is the 17th prime number. So they went and they did something. They came here. They did something else that was a certain time from that point. And what it's showing is a dimension of math. 1776 is a dimension off of 1717. And then it goes on to other dimensions like 888 times 2 is 1776. So 1776 has relevance in multiple ways, but it's tied to the 17 symbolically from the beginning literally of this country and before it. So this position in the alphabet, when you apply it to triangular math and you have a pyramid with a 1 on the top, and at the bottom of this pyramid that is basically the system that we use, our calendar, our alphabet, our measuring system, it all fits into this triangle of math that very few people know about. What even less people know about is the relevance of when you add 1 to 17 in this pyramid. Now, this is a visual object at this point. It's not just numbers. It's showing a natural pattern that's consistent. It's like a constant in reality. So when you add 1 to 17, it's 153. which is the 153 fish in the net, the biblical number. The people that understand this mirroring effect at that position know that to the 26 spot on this pyramid is Z, or 351. So our alphabet basically has this mathematical reflection point at the 17th position, because 153 is a mirror of the Z, or the whole alphabet, which is 351. So the 153 is in the Bible. The net, when you lay this math out, it looks like a pyramid with bricks. But when you have the knowledge of the system and you use it, you invert it, just like a 5-pointed star, it turns into the devil, right, with the horns. You take this natural system and you invert it. So this pyramid of bricks becomes what looks like a net when it is put upside down. We work with base 10 counting. 10, T-E-N. But when you invert the math and have an understanding of it, and you realize that 10, when you flip it, it's the net. So we end up with these specific numbers. We got the 17, we got the Q. We have our alphabet ends in Z. We have 666. So we'll start with Google Play. So this logo is actually showing you the exact math I'm showing you right above it. It's the same exact thing. It's also the seal of Satan, because this natural pattern of math has been inverted. That's why this seal is upside down. The people that understand this are basically using like magic, because people don't understand. Okay, now we have this center here. This is the reflection, this X. That's why we have this. That's why this guy named his kid X, because it's all symbolic to the math and the understanding behind all of this. These aren't just symbols, they're math equations. TikTok. So I'm talking about the 17, it's the reflection point. TikTok, we just have to look at things differently. Okay? You just flip it. It's a Q. It's right in your face. Jeff Bezos, okay? This guy owns Whole Foods, right? What else does he own? Amazon, right? A to the Z. You see that right there? It's telling us A to Z. There's more going on here. A to Z is actually his delivery app or something like that. So he even has a website, Amazon A to Z, but his logo is literally A to Z because he understands the code within our alphabet and the math behind it. Amazon originally was called Abracadabra, and then that got shortened to Cadabra because he understands the spell that everyone's under. Whole Foods, like whole numbers, right? You see the apple? Well, when you flip it, that's what it looks like. Amazon. A Mason. A Mason. Our alphabet ends in a Z. The beginning of the second half of our alphabet begins in N. The second half of our alphabet starts with N and ends with Z. Amazon is a developer app, Amazon Q. Prime, right? Now I'm talking about the 17s. When was the first Prime Day? Well, it ended on July 17th, 717. Anybody ever been to Disneyland? Cost $17 million to build. Opened on 717. Mr. Mason himself, Walt Disney. Google. Who owns Google? I'm telling you that your alphabet is a mathematical code. Who owns Google? I mean, could they like spell it out any more fucking obvious for us? Hello? The word Google. There's all types of shit going on right here. You know this guy, right? 007. These two O's have many meanings. How about 15 plus 15 plus 7 would be 37. That's the EL in Google because that's the name of God. 00 means protection from God. He was the seventh agent. He was basically a assassin, but he had basically had like an anointing from God because he was killing morally. Google is 007. Seventh digit. It's 007 back and forth, and then it's EL, which is the name of God, which ties into that first triangle because at the bottom of this triangle is the 37th row. So this is the beast, 666. Then under it, there's the 37th line where this whole triangle now mirrors down. And that's why we have the letters E and L, because it's the 37 being flipped and reversed. 37 flipped and reversed is L. Okay, so you just saw the visual representations of how this basically works. It's these reflection points. And this is natural, but it's being used in an unnatural way. So over the past 20 some odd years, we've had two events that have basically steered society. 9/11 and 3/11. The distance of time between those two events is 222 months. Now the triangle that equals 666, that's taking this counting and applying it to a triangle. When you take that same thinking and you apply it to pentagonal math, which is always 1/3 of triangular, it's 222. So the distance in time between those two events is actually 1/3 of 666. So another way to look at this is when you take those two events and they're on a calendar. A circle only has 360 degrees. We have 365 or 366 days in a year. Now, if you evenly distribute those extra days onto a 360-degree circle, 9/11 and 3/11, their position doesn't move because they are creating a line. They're actually creating pi through a circle at 3/11 and 9/11. On a quantum level, so they're basically polar opposites of each other. They're each other's mirror, just like I'm saying with this reflection stuff. But this is being done intentionally. It's an understanding that people generally do not think like this. People that think like this are high up in intelligence, or they're basically like, people would call them like Illuminati. That is who actually knows the stuff that I'm talking about. The L-ites, the elites. Where do you think they got the EL from? And all the people that are running the world, how do they generally get into power? They are elected, which is L, forward and backward. Once again, our entire language, everything is a mockery that we just generally don't understand. And the things that I'm talking about right now are guarded very, very well. And nobody taught me this. I learned bits and pieces of this over like a 10, 12-year period, and it's literally a language you have to learn. You have to train your mind to think the way they think. Otherwise, you'll never see what they're doing. So what I'm going to do now is actually just have one more thing. When you take 9/11 from a calendar, you convert that onto a clock. Every 12 hours is 720 minutes. 9/11 in minutes is 3:11 p.m. Once again, right in your face, but in a way that you would never put it together. They use this reflection, and they are using the alphabet as a code to mock us.